What happened in Sulhan village? Well, on 5th of June in Sulhan village in Burkina Faso, somewhere in Mali, 138 civilians are massacred. Massacred by either Al-Qaeda or ISIS, whichever may be, a terrorist group. And then same kind of terrorism happens in Afghanistan. After that, 25 people were again massacred, killed by terrorists. There is the news of this war between Hamas and Israel. Well, this goes on and on. This goes on and on. As much as there is loyalty and attention on that one book, you cannot eradicate this kind of fundamentalism, fanatism, terrorism that is founded on this one specific book, because that book makes rifting, splitting between ideologies. It does not know how to knit people together. It does not know the content of that book, the direction that you get from that book will never allow you to merge people together, because they cannot tolerate diversity and variety in this planet. They want to uniformize it because it's almost like an instruction and a command from that one book. So as long as you are adhered to that one book, then there's a drive to invade, there's a drive to convert, there's a drive to uniformize, there's a drive to standardize everything to suit your understanding of how the world is. Probably it's an outdated theology or ideology. Probably it needs a reform, needs a rethinking on much of its verses, because it does not know how to synthesize it, it does not know how to unite people, does not know how to bring people together of various ideologies together, to live together. Because there is no meditation in it, there is no breathing techniques as we practice in India. Burkina Faso is very far, somewhere in Africa, but they should learn the Indian way of meditations, the Indian way of breathing techniques that brings much needed solace for the mind. And when this ideology of what's practiced in India as meditation and in breathing techniques, when that comes, it intersperses the brain with soothing calmness and coolness, that the volatility and the virulence will be neutralized. But this fixation on one book and its commands alone and its instruction alone, and then to drive within people an urge to implement it, to execute it, they start executing the people itself. Because there's so much of virulence in that book. There's so much of volatility in that book. There is not access to meditations and deep understanding of how the mind works. So it's visible everywhere. People, they're acting upon some kind of hate towards other human beings. Why? Because other human beings have a different type of worship, different kind of worship. But it cannot change, because the entire creation, the entire world is one unit, one entity with varieties inside. So either you are so touchy about a building, or a touchy about a land, or a touchy about a book, or a touchy about another idol, another sculptor, another statue. It's one and the same. I mean, imagine blasting that Bamiyan Buddhas in Afghanistan, because it's that community there cannot tolerate a statue of Buddha. But then they are so attached to their territory, their buildings, their minarets, and their book itself. That's also a big form, or the carpet inside their building where they worship. So this kind of hypocrisy and this kind of anger, this kind of hatred, rage to other communities will be there as long as this book is not getting the reform and is not giving that possibility that so many ideologies can thrive on planet and flourish together, because we are all human. We all have equal amount of blood in each body. What is the point of imposing an ideology on other people to uniformize, to standardize? See, the point I'm making is there's no way this one book can succeed. There's no way, because varieties and diversity will continue. Different languages, different type of worship, different food habits will continue. So how much can you combat against that nature? As much as within you wear the same dress inside the uniform itself, people have different feelings, different emotions, and they fight with each other. Nobody came from foreign country to kill people in Afghanistan. They're killing themselves. Whether it is in many Middle Eastern countries where they are at war with each other, they are fighting with themselves. They all want to follow one book, one kind of attire, one kind of language, one kind of eating habit, but yet they have to fight, because unless you neutralize this virulence and this volatility in one's own mind by subscribing to the Indian method of breathing techniques and the Indian method of meditations, unless you do that, how can you bring serenity and tranquility and harmony into your own minds? So this kind of unrest and violence will continue until we do some reform. Do a deep dive into that one book and figure out where is the reform required in that book. And subscribe to yoga, methods of yogic eating habits, method of Ayurvedic eating habits, what they call as tamasic, rajasic and sattvic. Well, here is a hint. The hint is that you need to intersperse in African countries the idea of rajoguna, tamoguna and sattvaguna, so you can elevate the mindset, uplift the mindset to a different variety of books. As in India, we have multiple number of books as reference, to refer from. And there are debates on that. It's allowed. Nobody gets perturbed when somebody questions the content of a book. So Indians, they can live in harmony, tranquility, as much as the Buddhists, as much as the Taos and further Shintos. They have no severe anger or volatility as much as you see in this one book communities. So subscribe to yoga and bring this education of Indian civilization to African countries and other places where people are in rage of each other, in hate of each other, and in anger of each other. Not essential, because we are one community of human beings, one species sharing the planet with many other species. And we have plenty of rains, plenty of land, plenty of agriculture, plenty of food. Not everything is in abundance. And those who have some scarcity, we have to charity it for them. This is the earth where we have to show our charity, magnanimity, generosity, and the willingness to be supportive and encouraging to other people's method of expressing themselves, devoid of violence, devoid of hate, devoid of rage. So welcome to the Indian civilization, and let's promote the yoga, the Ayurveda, the method of Indian meditations and breathing techniques to all these countries where this one book seems to be giving all the instruction and all the commands, which has lot of need for reforms.